Without us, she'd have nothing. That's what my stepmother said. Out loud. In a courtroom. With a smirk on her face, like she'd already won. She didn't know who was sitting across from her. She didn't know what I had become. And in about 10 minutes, she was going to find out, in front of a judge, a room full of strangers and her own lawyer. My name doesn't matter right now. What matters is this. For 15 years, my stepmother told everyone I was a burden. A charity case. A girl who would have ended up with nothing if she hadn't saved me. Today, she was suing me. She wanted money. She said I owed her for raising me. She had no idea what I did for a living. She was about to find out the hard way, and her face was about to go pale. Let me take you back to the beginning, so you understand what led to this moment. My mother passed away when I was 8 years old. It was sudden, and it broke our small family apart. My father remarried 2 years later. Her name was Denise. She had a daughter of her own, a little older than me, named Brooke. From day one, there were 2 kinds of children in that house. Brooke was the golden child. New clothes, new toys, birthday parties with clowns and cake. And then there was me. I got hand-me-downs. I got told to be grateful. I got reminded, almost every single day, that I was lucky to have a roof over my head. My father worked long hours. He didn't see what happened when he wasn't home. Denise made sure of that. She used to say things like, "You're not my responsibility. I do this out of the goodness of my heart." She said it so often that, for a while, I actually believed her. I believed I was a burden. I believed I owed her. So I made myself small. I did the chores. I stayed quiet. I got good grades, not for myself, but because I thought maybe, just maybe, it would make her proud of me. It never did. When I was 17, I found an old letter from my mother. In it, she wrote about a savings account she had opened for me before she died. College money. A future she wanted me to have. I asked my father about it. He looked confused. He didn't know anything about it. Denise did. I remember the day I confronted her. I was shaking. I held that letter in my hand like it was proof of a crime, because it was. "There's no account," she said, without even looking up from her coffee. "Your mother didn't leave you anything. Whatever gave you that idea, you should let it go." I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe my own stepmother wouldn't lie to a grieving teenager about her dead mother's last gift to her. But something in her voice told me otherwise. I didn't have proof. I didn't have money. I didn't have anyone to turn to. My father trusted her completely, and back then, I had no way to challenge that. So I did the only thing I could do. I made a promise to myself. I promised that one day, I would find out the truth. And I promised that one day, I would stand on my own 2 feet, so tall that no one could ever again tell me I had nothing. That promise is the reason everything that happened next happened. At 18, I left. I joined the United States Army. Not because I had nowhere else to go, though it felt that way at the time, but because I wanted structure, discipline, and a chance to build something that was mine. Something Denise couldn't take credit for. Something she couldn't twist into a story about how, without her, I'd have nothing. She laughed when I told her. She said, "You'll be back in 6 months, begging for help." I never went back begging. Not once. The next several years, Denise and Brooke barely existed in my world. I trained. I studied. I worked harder than I ever had in my life, because for the first time, the effort was mine and the reward was mine too. I earned my commission as an officer. I went through officer training, then specialized in military logistics and legal affairs, the kind of work that requires sharp thinking, patience, and an eye for detail. Over the years, I moved up in rank. I earned decorations. I built a career that people spend decades dreaming about. My father and I stayed close quietly. He would visit me sometimes, careful not to mention it to Denise, because every time he did, she made his life difficult. I learned, through him, that Denise had spent most of my mother's money, my money, years ago, funding vacations and shopping trips for herself and Brooke, all while telling everyone she was sacrificing to raise me. I filed that fact away. I didn't act on it yet. I was patient. I had learned patience in places most people never see. Then, 2 years ago, my father passed away. And that's when everything changed. My father, it turned out, had quietly built a decent estate, a house, some savings, a small piece of land. In his will, he left the majority of it to me. Not out of spite toward Denise, but because he had learned near the end of his life exactly what she had done all those years ago. He told me himself, during one of our last conversations, that he was sorry. Sorry he didn't see it sooner. Sorry he let me carry that weight alone. Denise did not take the will well. She hired a lawyer. She claimed that she had raised me, fed me, clothed me, and that she deserved compensation for my father's estate, compensation that should come out of my inheritance. She built a story, one she clearly believed herself, that I owed my entire existence to her generosity. She filed the case in civil court, and she requested that I appear in person. I almost didn't go. Part of me wanted to simply let my lawyer handle it from a distance, but another part of me, the part that had waited 15 years for this exact moment, wanted to look her in the eye one more time. So I requested leave. I put on my dress uniform, and I walked into that courtroom. She didn't recognize me at first. 15 years changes a person. I wasn't the thin, quiet teenager she remembered. I stood taller. I carried myself differently. When I walked in, wearing my uniform, with my rank clearly visible on my shoulders, she just glanced at me and looked away, like I was nobody important. That's when she said it, loud enough for the whole room to hear, leaning toward her lawyer with a satisfied little smile. Without us, she'd have nothing. The judge looked up from the paperwork. Then the judge looked at me. I saw something shift in the judge's expression. A flicker of recognition, maybe, or simply curiosity about why a decorated officer was sitting quietly on the other side of this case. Denise's lawyer leaned over and whispered something to her. I couldn't hear it fully, but I caught 3 words. Wait, they really don't know? Denise turned to him, confused. Know what? She whispered back. He didn't answer her right away. He was flipping through a folder. My folder, the one my legal team had submitted as part of the case documentation.
His face had changed.
He looked like a man who had just realized he was standing on the wrong side of a very big mistake. 7. The truth comes out. The judge asked me to stand and state my role in the proceedings as a standard. I stood, straightened my jacket, and gave my full name and rank. Then the judge asked something that changed the entire mood of the room. For the record, can you confirm your current occupation and any relevant legal background? I explained, calmly, that I served as a judge advocate officer, a military lawyer, specializing in estate and financial law. I had spent years reviewing exactly the kind of cases now being brought against me. I wasn't just the defendant in this courtroom. I was someone who understood, in precise legal detail, every angle Denise's lawyer was about to try. The room went quiet. Denise's smirk disappeared. Her lawyer asked for a short recess. The judge granted it. In that recess, my legal team presented something I had been holding onto for years. Bank records, quietly gathered over time by my father before he passed, showing the original account my mother had opened for me, the one Denise swore never existed, and showing, in painstaking detail, how those funds had been withdrawn and spent years before I ever left that house. It wasn't a guess anymore. It wasn't a memory from a scared 17-year-old. It was documented proof. Because she's the one who took what was never hers to take. And this time, the evidence spoke for itself. When we returned to the courtroom, the judge read through the new evidence in silence. The room felt heavier with every passing second. Denise sat rigid in her chair, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles had turned white. Her lawyer no longer looked at her. He was staring at the table, clearly wishing he had asked more questions before agreeing to take this case. The judge looked up. Ma'am, the judge said, addressing Denise directly, the court has reviewed documentation showing that funds belonging to the defendant, left specifically for her by her late mother, were withdrawn and used for purposes unrelated to her care. Given this evidence, your claim that the defendant owes you compensation is not only unsupported, it raises serious concerns about your own conduct. Denise opened her mouth to respond. Nothing came out. Her face lost every bit of color. The confident, smirking woman who had walked in claiming I would have had nothing without her was now sitting in silence, pale, exposed, in front of a room that finally saw the truth. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I had waited 15 years for this moment, and now that it was here, all I felt was a strange, quiet peace. The judge dismissed Denise's claim entirely. Not only that, but based on the financial records presented, the court referred the matter of the missing funds from my mother's account to further review, a process that, in the months that followed, resulted in Denise having to repay a portion of what she had taken with interest as part of a separate settlement. Brooke, my stepsister, reached out to me a few weeks after the hearing. She said she hadn't fully understood what her mother had done all those years, and she apologized, quietly, privately, away from Denise. We're not close, not the way sisters should be, but there's no bitterness between us. She was a child too, shaped by the same house I grew up in. As for Denise, I haven't spoken to her since that day in court. I don't need to. She got the only thing she was ever owed by me. The truth, spoken out loud, in a place where she couldn't twist it. I went back to my post a few weeks later. Back to my work, my responsibilities, the life I built with my own two hands, brick by brick, without her help and despite her efforts to convince me I couldn't. Every rank on my shoulder, every case I've won, every year of discipline. None of it came from her. It came from a promise I made to a scared teenage girl holding a letter from her dead mother. A promise that one day, the truth would come out, and I would be standing tall when it did. Here's what I learned, and what I hope you take from this story. People who tear you down while claiming they built you up are counting on one thing, that you'll never find out the truth, and that you'll never stand strong enough to face them with it. Don't let anyone convince you that you're nothing without them. Sometimes the very people who claim credit for your success are the same people who tried the hardest to make sure you never had any. If you're in a situation right now where someone is minimizing what you've overcome, remember this. The best revenge isn't anger. It isn't shouting. It's simply becoming someone so strong, so capable, and so undeniable that the truth speaks for itself the moment you walk into the room. My stepmother said I'd have nothing without her. I built everything without her. And in the end, that was the only answer she ever needed to hear.